Good evening. Thank you, Pam, for that incredibly warm introduction. And those words really speak not only to the work that I've done, but to all the students who are part of the Taney Working Group and all the hard work they've put in to truly make it a continuing success. So I'm going to ask you a question. What's due process mean? You know, I think that it's one of those terms that's thrown around and you feel like you know about it even before you enter law school, or at least I thought I had some understanding of what due process meant before I even got to law school. It's entrenched in our culture. But I remember very clearly the first day I really understood what its legal definition meant. I was sitting in a class called The Administrative and Regulatory State. And we were reading a case called Lassiter versus Department of Social Services. And I was just astonished by portions of the court proceedings that were put into the case, and just how the judge treated the woman who was there defending her rights as a parent. And I raised my hand and I said to my professor, but doesn't due process afford just some protection, some measure of human dignity in the courtroom, even an administrative court? And she turned to me and she said, you know, unfortunately under current jurisprudence, that's not the case. But when you become a judge, Reena, you can change that. And I was like, well, I don't think I'm becoming a judge anytime soon. So I was trying to look at different ways that I could be involved, and it struck me that there was a way that we could, as students, help to make sure that the due process rights in immigration court for immigrants were actually being protected. The first time I went to immigration court, I was shocked. It was a little room, you know, just like an office room, didn't look like a courtroom at all. And immigrants were brought in orange jumpsuits and shackles, treated like criminals for what is a civil violation. I sat in the back, you know, on these two imported church pews where people who came and observed sat. And I was shocked, you know. They could barely get a glance at their families after being in detention for so long. Their lawyers came in mumbling and rambling, rarely had the adequate defenses, and the interpreters barely interpreted 1/10 of the proceeding, leaving most of the immigrants incredibly confused. And I remember thinking, well, you know, here the rights aren't being protected, and these people are stripped of all the human dignity that they have. So together with my friend Angela Yen, we began a project that brought student observers into the courtroom. And, you know, the idea was to collect data. We created observation sheets to collect data of what was going on. But what was even more phenomenal was just the impact of our sheer presence in the courtroom every day, having an observer. You know, asking the questions, is interpretation adequate? Is the judge actually telling the client all the forms of relief open to them? And our eyes, our presence, made judges start acting less arbitrary and were more conscientious of what they were doing. And so in our very small, limited, you know, effort sitting there in that church pew, we were actually able to make a big difference and have a huge impact on what was going on in that courtroom. You know, for me, this was, I try to find ways that I can be involved in whatever capacity I can. And I started this as a first-year law student before I could go on. And it's been such an amazing stepping stone for me in becoming a lifelong advocate for immigrant rights. And I don't think I'll still be a judge anytime soon, but I have a lot of different ways and measures I plan on taking, and I appreciate the support of the entire public interest community in doing so. And I'd like to thank LexisNexis, Martindale-Hubbell for recognizing the small effort based on, you know, some students in New York who are doing what little that they can and moving forward to do more in the future. So thank you very much for this award.